What's up, guys? It's the Farooqi family here with another video. And today for you guys, we're going to be talking about all things Morbius, including a very controversial post-credit scene and about the critical climate of how people are treating this movie. And we have what I want to now call, Fatma, I'm going to give you the title of the resident Morbius fan, because all of us have a resident something, but from now on, you're going to be the resident Morbius fan. So
not forever. Like
forever,
I have other things I'm a huge fan of, but
now.
like I am pro Morbius. I don't think it's as bad as people say.
For today's video, you're going to be the resident Morbius fan.
Yeah. I'll take.
So the first, as Nyla jumps in to cameo, the first topic is going to be simple. How was the movie, Fatma, in your opinion? Because you were kind of going in, really leading the ship and kind of spearheading this movie, and you pretty much marketed it for a few months now. So dual question for you. Number one, what did you think about the movie? And number two, do you think it's being overhated?
So I'm gonna be honest, I haven't read the comics. I've never seen him in the animated. I'm assuming he's in some animated series or something or the other. I have zero background about him. All I know is that he's a vampire. Well, or at least the closest thing to a vampire that you can get. And he's also kind of like a superhero / anti-hero. And to me, because that's like two worlds colliding, for me, that I absolutely love and adore, because on top of like the superhero things that I love, I also love like supernatural things. So reading books, fantasy books about vampires, werewolves, creatures of like any mystical thing, that was totally my jam. I absolutely loved it. It was the best thing for me. And having it collide with superheroes, I personally was sold from the get-go. Like from the first trailer, I was like, yes, this is amazing. This is the best idea ever. I am so in, and I can't wait to see all the fun that they can come up with this. So I know like some parts of the marketing for this film, some fans saw that they were trying to market this grand MCU connected universe. I personally didn't see it. I kind of not like try to pay attention to the actual character, what the story of the film was and what it was about. So I came into this film expecting what I wanted to like enjoy from it. I didn't care for the connected universe, and I loved Spider-Man No Way Home. It was amazing. It was a great experience. I loved the communal experience in the cinema as well. So I'm not coming from a biased side of like seeing, well, Morbius should do the same thing, right? I actually enjoyed it the other way around. As a story, the film holds. If you look at it as just like a film as a movie that you go into and you watch, and it holds, it works. Yes, that looks amazing to me personally. My only issue is it did feel like there were certain things that were cut out from the trailer that weren't connected to the MCU, but certain things that I was really excited for, like the vampire-esque things. It did feel like there were some things missing, more scenes, perhaps that it would be more fleshed out. It did feel short for me. And maybe I just wanted more of the action and the look of Morbius itself. The acting was great. The chemistry between Matt Smith and Jared Leto was perfect in terms of like their bond and how they go from children to adults and with the condition that they have. So as a film, it stands, and I think the issue that a lot of critics and a lot of the audience are having is the fact that it's not as like intertwined with the MCU as they thought it should be as a film in general. And the post-credit scene, which didn't bother me at all, because I don't really care for that in general. I just wanted to go in and enjoy whatever it is that I all the points I said I wanted to enjoy. So yeah. I don't know. I hope I've hit all the points. It isn't cinema. It isn't, because I just watched The Batman and I watched multiple other films that are like amazing. It isn't cinema. It isn't like the best, but it most definitely isn't the worst. I think it's a good time. It's a fun time. And one thing that I wanted to add was the scientific part, like him researching in the lab really like, intrigued me and was really fun for me because I'm a scientist as well. But yeah, it's a 3 out of 5, I'd say. 3.5 if I'm being generous, but it's not horrendous by all means.
I think it's interesting because there was a great piece by Richard Newby for the Hollywood Reporter, which I read, and he talked about how a lot of people kind of pre-decided they were going to hate Morbius months before it came out, and whether it was the multiple pushes of release dates that got people less and less interested as the movie came out, which is actually a thing that I think even us from the bros, we felt like the more it got delayed, the less interesting the movie became. And then another aspect is, like you said, there's so much love for the MCU that people go in kind of giving it a pass when other movies, other franchises do the same mistakes that the MCU does, but they get judged on a 10 times harder level because, well, you don't have the stamp, the Disney stamp, you don't have Kevin Feige's hand in it. So, you know, in my opinion, Morbius is no better or worse than a lot of the MCU movies that aren't that great, in my opinion. And people act like this is the worst thing that ever happened. And I saw, Fatma, your tweet went viral, has almost 10,000 likes right now, saying that, you know, how can you say Morbius is the worst movie when Wonder Woman 84 is right there? And that one kind of viral.
I do admit I'm going to add to it. There's a billion other films that are worse, like Catwoman and like the other ones that people have mentioned. I just say Wonder Woman 84 because it's the most recent one that I really dislike. But yes, it isn't the worst.
Right. So, and that's one of those things where people come in as, we saw this hate with Venom 1 as well. The difference is Venom 1 just was such a box office success that even with everyone piling on and wanting it to fail, at least from the critics side, it still managed to get a sequel. And again, I'm someone who thinks both Venom movies are kind of mid. Then I don't think neither are that great. And same with Morbius. So I was like, I'm not coming in with high expectations, but at the same time, I realize there is a bit of a double standard. And I don't know if Zayyan, you have an opinion on the double standard between a movie that is MCU versus a movie that isn't.
Yeah, there's definitely double standard. I mean, you hit on the point that when it's a Marvel movie or even DC, but like really, you look at Marvel movies that are detached from the MCU, they're so rare these days, but even still, when they happen, they're judged so much more harshly. And really, you can say that if you judge this in the rankings of the MCU films, this would be mid-tier MCU film as well. I mean, people complain that, oh, it has that comic book campiness to it and whatnot, but so do so many MCU films, but those get a pass for whatever reason. Obviously, I think, like you said, Richard Newby, he hit the point well that people already prejudged this movie, like to hate it, already came in with the notion that, yeah, no matter what it is, they're going to dislike it and they're going to go on social media and put it down and whatnot. That could be because not in MCU, it could be for whatever reason. But I think that, yeah, just being a non-MCU Marvel film, it's judged way more harshly than an MCU film would be, even if it was the same quality or worse even, which I think there have been even worse MCU films. So it is getting more unnecessary hate than it should. Not that it's like the greatest movie ever, of course, but I don't think it's as bad as people are saying it is. And if it had the MCU brand on it, people would be much more lenient on it than they are right now.
Samir, you know, as someone who has not been shy from letting the jokes fly about Morbius over the last year, do you think this movie's overhated? Because there is an alternate side to this argument saying that, well, look at Spider-Verse. It's considered one of the greatest Marvel movies ever, and it's no MCU relation to it. So do you agree that it's being overhated, or do you think it's actually justified?
I definitely think it's overhated. I saw this one scene that was tweeted out where they were like, what's happening in this? But it's like he was just standing and there was CGI going on, and like nothing even that bad was happening. So I don't know, just running the Morbius hate narrative. But I still don't think it's really that great either. So.
Are you on the Morbius narrative though?
Is it the
that
greatest?
Scene that you were talking about in the tweet, actually, when you watch it completely, it makes sense because they cut the clip that they put on Twitter. The next clip flows completely fine.
Yeah. So Samir, are you Morbius sweep? Hashtag Morbius sweep or
Morbius
what?
sweep?
Yeah, sweep.
Yeah.
It's not going to sweep the Oscars next year. Okay, I thought you were on that wave. I mistook you. Omer, I want to jump to a different layer of this topic because there's been a lot of cutscenes in this movie. It's been torn to shreds. There's a specific scene I'm going to bring up right now where it has Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and it says murderer on it. This scene was not in the movie. So again, are you overselling things that aren't in it? There's multiple scenes of Michael Keaton that were cut out from this movie in in preference for a one post-credit scene. Do you think that this movie, in a sense, was kind of selling? Because one kind of criticism that it sold a different product and it gave us a different product. So, like, I don't know, like these kind of scenes, like you don't show Spider-Man and murder, it's gonna have people trending and then have no Spider-Man connections in the movie. So, do you think that was a mistake, or do you think they should have probably roped in like Andrew Garfield or something and really kind of took on the wave that No Way Home was setting?
Well, I think that like with any it's funny because Jared Leto had the same thing happen to him before, so it's like kind of sad. But I don't know to what extent. Obviously, with Suicide Squad, it's totally different. But with Morbius, I mean, if you do, and this is the problem with like hedging your bets a little bit. It's like when you have these types of things in the trailers and the fans are actually marketing that stuff on your behalf, then you should kind of, I guess, it whatever you want to call it, you can call it fan service, you can call it whatever you want, but it does well. Like in terms of like the responses are definitely going to be better to those things because you're catering to those fans. So when you don't do that and then you chop the movie and then you cut out a lot of things, like even more than just those things, then your movie's gonna struggle. Like it's just gonna happen. I don't know of any movie that does well in that regard, like where you chop it up like crazy and then all of a sudden everyone loves it. I think Venom 1 is kind of an example of the counter argument that could be made, because Venom 1 also was very different than like what it could have been, or what there's other cuts as well of it like that they had. So there's like arguments on both sides. I think with Morbius and an actor like Jared Leto is like you waste the potential sometimes where the actor can do really great, especially if you can just put him in a position to like show all his scenes, flesh out everything. And then if you don't do that, he can look a million times worse than he actually is. So I think that's where this movie probably struggles the most.
And the last kind of point the last kind of mini topic is kind of discussing the post-credit scene and seeing where in the end Morbius fits in the wider universe. As we know, Amy Pascal has not been shy in saying that they are building their own Sony universe centered on Spider-Man. We know Kraven the Hunter is coming out next. We know Venom 3 is going to happen. They are building a universe out. At the same time, there's a sense of like, is this part of the MCU or not? It almost feels like Amy's always like begging Kevin Feige that of course part of the same universe. And Kevin's like, are we? Like, so in the end of Venom 2, I'm talking about like now promises unlived once more. At the end of Venom 2, you have a post-credit scene where Venom gets transported in the MCU only to never show up in the MCU. And then end of Spider-Man Home, he just gets sent back. And the only purpose was leaving the piece of Venom so Tom Spider-Man can have his own arc, and now he's back. The director of Morbius did say that there is a Spider-Man in this Venom universe, which Morbius takes place in. And at the end of the movie, as we know, big spoilers ahead for those of you who haven't seen Morbius. I'm going to get into that spoiler now, where Michael Keaton's Vulture shows up, and he's like, come on, let's go kill Spider-Man, even though Spider-Man saved his life at the end of Homecoming, but it's okay. And then he got transported to a different universe in his prison clothes, but somehow had his Vulture suit from the MCU. Like, how did that happen? Either way, not gonna overthink this one, but there's some plot holes there. But Samir, I mean, come on, you must have loved that post-credit scene.
I think unlike the movie as a whole, this post-credit scene has more valid criticism because it makes no sense at all. How he got there, even then how he got the suit. Maybe it's the Amazing Spider-Man tease Vulture suit. But then he goes to talk to Morbius, and they have like the most NPC like video game post-credit dialogue where they're like, "Oh, you're Spider-Man, you gotta go get him," and it just didn't make sense at all.
And Morbius doesn't know who Spider-Man is. Why did he say he wants to join? Why does he want to join the team?
I don't know. That didn't make sense to me. I was watching it. I was like, I was here for the film. I don't really care for the end credit, but.
I mean, but the end credit does set up what kind of the universe is going towards. I personally still want them to really capitalize on the love and resurgence of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and just make Andrew this universe's Spider-Man, and then not worry about what Kevin Feige is doing with Tom Holland. If they want to do other movies with him, let him do it. But this constant mixing, and Jared Leto has said maybe 50 times that the Spider-Man I want to face is Tom Holland. So I think internally they've been told, the actors that try to mix with Tom Holland and not with Andrew Garfield, but maybe things are going to change over the course of the next few years as they kind of build this out. But Zayyan, post-credit scene, do you think they're building towards anything that makes sense? I feel like we just fought the Sinister Six in No Way Home. Now they're rebuilding a new Sinister Six with Vulture, Morbius, Venom, Craven. So I don't know. Do you think they're going anywhere with this? And which Spider-Man should they use?
Well, I think then the obvious step is Sinister Six. Like you said, we just saw it in No Way Home, but I guess this is the new wave of the new era of Spider-Man villains that people have not seen in film or whatever. And I think it's funny because they're probably in the head, they're like, let's cut all these Vulture scenes out from the movie and put in post-credit scene to have like the impact that Venom 2's post-credit scene had, which is, obviously that was the best scene in the entire film, Venom 2. But this is like nobody even cares, and it was done so poorly as well because of plot holes, and nobody really cares about Vulture. Yeah, he was an okay villain in Homecoming, but he wasn't that great. People say he was great because MCU villains as a whole are just garbage. So then compared to them, he seems good. But really, if you compare it to like the wider pantheon of villains across Marvel and DC even, he's not that great. So whatever impact they're trying to have with him showing up in the Morbius post-credit scene obviously fell flat. And it didn't work for me, in my opinion. I think, they're pushing for them to be part of Tom Holland's, I guess, Spider-Man universe or whatever, but I think that would just be bad. It would just bring where they left Tom Holland is so perfect that now bringing these mid-tier villains into his universe would just bring him down and bring it back to the way the Homecoming trilogy was, which is just a slew of bad villains. I think keep him away from these guys. If you're going to bring something back, bring back Andrew Garfield. I know they're not great for him either, but at least we'll get him back, so that's a huge plus. So I think he's the best Spider-Man for these mid-tier villains, so that he just come in and take care of them easily.
Last point before we wrap this up. Omer, you are the resident Michael Keaton fan, so what did you think about the post-credit scene?
Hell no, Michael Keaton's the worst.
Worst Batman.
What?
He's the best Batman. What are you talking about?
I hate Michael Keaton. I especially hate his Batman, but that's a different discussion. What do I think of what? Michael Keaton? That's a dumb question, Sheraz.
No, I said, what do you think about the post-credit scene? In 5 words or less.
I just think I'm going to agree with Zayyan. Just keep everyone away from Tom Holland, these guys, and just keep them also away from Andrew Garfield.
Then maybe?
I'm gonna quote my boy Kylo Ren. Just let the past die. And by the past, I mean the recent past.
Oh my god.
Also, it makes absolutely no sense why Morbius would want to fight or kill any Spider-Man. Like, he has zero connection to Spider-Man. Vulture, okay, whatever, he has his thing, even though he was saved by Spider-Man, like you said. But why would Morbius care? Why would he try to help a random person in a bird suit kill a random other person he doesn't know?
See, I don't know about the comics. I think they do have a rivalry, but like in the film, there's nothing that like connects any like animosity against Spider-Man either. So I'm trying to like figure out like how they could do it.
Yeah, it's like just it's not as good.
Even in the anime show, stuff like that, he has no personal vendetta against Spider-Man. Spider-Man just in the way of him trying to get like his cure, help his wife. Forgot what the story was. But
I thought he was in love with. I thought he was in love with Gwen. Am I just mistaking this whole arc?
Morbius.
Oh yeah. Maybe he was Gwen or something.
Yeah. He was.
See that a movie like that would have made more sense.
So you want
him helping a random bird guy?
With Gwen? This is a whole discussion for another time. Just to give you a quick update, it is Ramadan, so Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak. Hope you guys, if you're observing, have a good month ahead. Our schedule over the next 4 weeks is a little different than normal. So as you know, today you had the whole family talking about Morbius. Next week, expect a little bit of a different crew. It might be me, Zayyan, and Samir, or variation, talking about the 20th anniversary of Kingdom Hearts. The week after that, we'll see. It'll be a question mark for now. And the final week, I might introduce you guys to another one of my passions, Yu-Gi-Oh, and show off my my deck that I've been building over the last few years. So a little different. No streams for the next few weeks, but in May, we should be back with regular streams again. What did you guys think about Morbius? Do you think it's overhated? Let us know in the comments below and join the debate. From myself, from Zayyan, from
also, it wasn't Gwen, it was Felicia Hardy.
Felicia, but thanks for interrupting my end thing. I was trying to.
People are gonna say you're a fool in the comments. I'll save you.
No one's gonna make it that far. All right. from myself, from Zayyan, from Omer, from Samir, and from Fatma, we're the Farooqi family, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.